Aye, aye. Cotton crystal, baby. It's an oldie, but it's a goldie. You know what? I just like doing this technique. Anytime anybody wants to see this technique, I'm happy. But I've been tweaking it a bit. As you can see, it's a bit more advanced than it was back in the day. This was one of the very first techniques I ever did in a demonstrating crafting capacity. I saw, what we're talking, 15 years ago plus, in a magazine. So I didn't invent it, and I'd love to meet the lady who did. Because when you see how it's done, you'll see she was even more rubbish at housework than I am. And not good at multitasking, I believe. Because when you see the way things come together, it had to be a happy accident. So here's the thing. So I did this about 15 years ago before I even did any demonstrations, TV. I did the very first show I was at. And when people were walking past, because, you know, it was like, I want to see somebody I know, I want to see somebody who didn't know me. So I said, oh, would you like to see the floor polish card? Well, then brakes would go on. You'd hear the heels screech as the rubber made contact with the parquet. Exactly like that. Foley as well. Not just a camera woman. Not a silent camera woman. So then people would say, what? Floor polish? This one's lost the plot. So yes, because it used to be there was only one floor polish I knew that you could use that. And I love something, as a crafter, something that isn't a craft product that you can, and especially if you can repurpose a housework product. Oh, that's got my heart all over it. So floor polish, nah, not for cleaning the floors, but for making amazing cards, fabulous. Well, it used to be that the only one I knew of, and the only one that was at the time was called, it was Johnson's Clear at the time with a K. And you could get it in supermarkets, you know, you can get it around, and it wasn't too bad to find. But then you couldn't find it. And if you did, it was like few and far between. So since then, I've been playing with other things. I found other products that work. So that's the good thing. And we're going to show you a couple of alternatives. But so yeah, shall we just get cracking and show you what Cotton Crystal's all about? Yeah, come on then. Let's do it. And I hope you're all safe and all well on this lovely sunny day here. Although it did take a while to get out in Evesham. It promised so much and delivered not so much. Blowing windy and quite chilly. But it's lovely now that it's time to go to bed. Nearly. All right then, let's do it. Have we got anybody there, by the way?
No, it's just you and me.
Fantastic. We're used to talking to ourselves.
And Karen Griffin. Hello, Karen Griffin.
Karen Griffin.
Hello to
the
Dawn from Newcastle.
Dawn, you all right, pet? And yeah, so look, this is what we're talking, is the background. Now, here's where it's advanced. Back in the day, I would stamp a bit of acetate and with stays on. That was it. That was acetate stays on, which was a water-resistant ink, and it wouldn't rub off the acetate. That was it. You'd have to find a stamp that was pretty opaque, quite solid, and because you need something that's kind of filled in to show up against this background. However, I've tweaked it and I've moved it on. First thing, we're going to stamp and emboss onto acetate. So we want heat-resistant acetate, mega important, because the line is so much bolder and sharper and got more contrast if you heat emboss rather than just stamp with the black. It's blacker, it's more intense. Now the next thing is, my next step was, I want to paint these eyes in make them solid, because then if weren't, you would see the crystal behind them. But I wanted these to really stand out. So gesso in the eyeballs and the highlight on the eye. Then this morning I thought, I'm going to push it. I dried all the background, done everything. You'll see, we'll come back to it. And I thought, I wonder if we can put a bit of shading on this. Can it happen? Yes, it can, because look, dark area in here. Can you see the wash? Giving it more contouring, a bit more impact. So that's the next thing. We've pushed it. We've taken it further. Look, here's another one I have to play with. This is the it works great with the Magic Cottage images, because you know it's got that. You want something when you've got just a bold image like the candelabra with that background. The other thing to mention, this one's on white card behind it, so it's matted against a white card, so the light, it's really light, shows up all those facets in the crystal we've captured. Yeah, so really light. But the other thing is, try it against a mirror card, because the mirror card reflects the light too. So this one looks a bit more opulent, bit more, if you get the light current, look, can you see the light shining through there? So you've got a different effect if you mount it against a mirror card. And then this stamp here, now this one, it's not, this is all about using anything you've got, any appropriate stamp. You'll not have seen this one yet, but this is a one that's about to appear. And it's from my mindfulness range, but that's all I'm saying at the minute. And I just thought this lent itself really well to this. But instead of black, I thought white, because it's like a, you know, it's a lotus, pure, kind of mindful, clean, pretty image, quite ghostly, against this gorgeous, psychedelic, rather cosmic background. This is what's in my head most of the time. This is there. Whoa, I have to tell you, I haven't even told Maria this. The other night, right, you know when they say that not many people dream in colour? I had the most amazing, vivid, like mini snippet of a dream. I woke up because of it. I saw leaves in a little puddle, autumn leaves in water, but the colour was absolutely intense and the clarity was amazing. So it was it was like another otherworldly experience. It was really amazing, and it was so vivid and so realistic, and it had that much impact on me. I actually woke up and I thought, wow, I'll tell Maria that, and then it fell out my head. I forgot to tell her. But yeah, that's weird. What does that mean? Somebody might know. It was lovely. We made more like that. All right, back to this. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want some acetate, and we want stamps. And as I mentioned, stamps which are bold and rather large would be great. We've got I was going to do one with a signpost. Let's do the signpost and a crow. All right, because the crow can sit on the signpost, and I think that would look quite good with a psychedelic background on it, don't you? Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll use those stamps from that set, but anything you've got, this is about the technique. It's not about a selling thing or a promoting my things, anybody else's thing. I'm promoting stuff I like, you know. I just happen to like my stamps, and I don't really have anybody else's. I just got mine, so sorry. But everything else is what you'll see. So the first thing is, we're going to need a stamping platform. So this is a great little stamping platform. There's so many, the Tim Holtz, there's loads of them. Stamping platforms are fantastic. Right, and you need some acetate. So I've cut some down to A5 size. The thing is with this technique, the bigger you can get with the acetate, the better, without wasting it. So if you're feeling really kind of extravagant and you want to just splash out on your acetate, then bigger is better, and you'll see why in a minute. But with control, we'll be able to manage with this. So the other thing is, the magnets aren't going to be strong enough to hold this down, because I'm going to be stamping with a clear embossing ink. And, you know, I've just realised I want to do that the other way around. That's all right. We'll change the orientation. And the acetate will definitely stick to it, and you don't want it to lift up, because we want to stamp it a couple of times to make sure we've got the image right. So I've got that down there the way I want it to be. The next thing is, I want to position my stamps. So I'm going to have the signpost, a little bit rickety signpost. Now I don't want any of the images too close to the, or maybe a little bit straighter, to the center, to the edges, because it's important that, oh, you know what, can you see the problem there? Can you see what I did wrong? That was for your sake. You're welcome. That was when the time when Andy Love actually watched me stamp ink the wrong side of a stamp. What? And he didn't say anything. He said, well, I thought you knew what you were doing. I thought, you should have known better, but thanks for the faith. Right, so we'll line that up there. We'll try and do the two at once. We'll pop this on. Oh, come on. Oh. Right, you can all go and watch a bit of telly now. It'll get better. Right. You should see Maria. Eyes rolling aplenty here. Right. And did you see yet it didn't twig on? I tried it 2 or 3 times. But because of me really cool in a monologue, I didn't let on that I I was being completely stupid then, did I? You didn't guess.
Happens to the best of us, Sheena.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just happens to you more than most.
It absolutely does. Now, this is important. This is really important because we're going to use an anti-static bag. If you haven't got an anti-static bag, talcum powder is not the way forward. Talcum powder is nice on the bod and it smells lovely, but it does have moisturisers in, which, you know, it's got oils and things in it. So what you want, if you haven't got an anti-static bag, which I'm sure, I think what must be in them is actually just something like corn flour. Corn flour is brilliant. Corn flour in a sock, tied in a knot, used to be my way forward until I started doing telly and I thought, better make a bit of a show of it. Yeah. So, clearing pad, inking up my image. Now, the good thing is, and this is where things have gotten easier, is that this, because it is, I've got the stamping platform, it's actually easier than it used to be stamping on acetate, because the thing with acetate is it's a bit tricky because there's no give in it whatsoever. Slippy slidey. So it used to be with a block on a surface and the acetate could slide and, you know, the block could move and you would get one chance of doing it, and if you got it wrong and you'd miss bits, that's it, you've had it. But with this, I can go over a couple of times. Now, the thing is as well, though, you don't want to press too hard because you still want to have that fine line. If you use a bit too much pressure, oh, you know what? Oh, God. My bird is actually hovering all over this sign. Oh, I pushed it. How many isolation inspirations? There's third.
This will be the last one, yeah.
Yeah, it might be, yeah. So next week, you're just straight to Mandy, all right? I'm going to fix it. This is for you. This is fine. This is all right. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. I'm going to show you how.
This is real crafting.
It's real.
This is what happens when I try to craft.
Yeah. I have some pre-stamped as well. So, because the thing is, you're going to... Oh, just spilt that as well. You know when you just have one of those days? Right, we're going to do it black. So I've got my black embossing powder. And I am now going to pop this on here. Look at it, it's totally hovering. So, vines may be the way forward. Bear with. I think we can redeem it.
Well, this is good though, because it really does happen to me.
Well, yes, this is it. Well, like I say, you know, this is my gift to you. It was all staged. It wasn't. That wasn't an accident,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
I remember you writing it in
Remember
now.
that, Maria?
Yes.
Yeah. And remember how I said I'd then spill some of the liquid we need to do it, and then I'd spill my embossing powder as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to plan, isn't it?
Yes.
And how I couldn't get the lid back on the embossing powder jar.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And then you clean the dining room up again afterwards.
And then, no, we don't do that bit. We'll just leave it till next week.
Oh.
Yeah, we've kind of lost a room since we've been doing these, haven't we? Right, so here's the next thing I need. I do need the heat gun. Now, be careful when you're embossing acetate. It's, right, just see, it's heat destructible. It's heat resistant. It's not indestructible like Captain Scarlet. Get the heat gun up to heat and then go a bit closer. Don't go, stay as far away as you can with it still melting, and have a look across it like you normally would. This is where I shouldn't have tried to save time. I should have stamped the sign, then stamped the crow, but no. I thought I'd just wing it.
Jane's asking, what is your preferred embossing powder?
Oh, you know what? I love Wow embossing powder. Wow is brilliant. But I've got a couple here I've been using as well. What's the one I've got here? Sweet Dixie powders. They're really good. But yeah, Sweet Dixie, Wow, brilliant. Love them. Right, so we've got this here. Now, here's the thing. How are we going to fix it? We're going to fix it if I can find my glycerin. I'm looking. I'm not finding. Oh, if I knew this was going to happen. Hang on. Don't let me see the rest of the room. Because seriously, it's bad. Right, Maria, do you want me to talk while you go and find the glycerin? It might be... We've got 2 jars of glycerin. I just don't know where it is. Oh, man. All right, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back. I think I took all the ink pads. I took them all back through the other room because I thought I'm not using glycerin, so I won't have that out there, but bear with because I have them usually secreted elsewhere. Oh, seriously.
I'll go and have a look.
We'll come back to this and we're going to move ahead because I'm going to fix this, all right? I am going to fix it. Maria will have a look for the glycerin in a minute. And it's, you know what it is? It's in my studio with the one that's got all the ink pads in.
Okay.
All right.
Benjamin Cooper's in the house.
Hey, Benjamin.
We also have Mandy Taylor in the house. Hey,
Yay.
Mandy. Hey, Ben.
So here's the next thing. The next thing we need a piece of copy paper. So this is important because you want this to support the next thing you're going to play with on your copy paper. You also want to decide if you're going to colour in or just leave your image as it is. So let me show you. I have got the eyes here, all right? And as you can see the whites? They're opaque. I coloured those with some white gesso. Now, not just any white gesso, you have to use a good gesso. Also, I extended the eyebrows a little bit using black gesso. And I'm just going to tell you, the best gesso, the most opaque gesso I have used, Pebbio's good, but Cadence is amazing. Cadence is just, it's opaque. It'll blank out anything and it paints onto acetate like a charm. So let me show you. Well, let's do a little bit on this. I'm going to paint this, even though I wanted to wait until I did the little bit with the glycerin. I'm still looking in hope that there might be glycerin in this crazy room somewhere, but I can't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black gesso. Clearly, this is not a transparent stamp. The crow's almost all black anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black gesso and I'm going to paint it on the right side, like the embossed side up. Can you see how that's just covering that? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Because if I didn't, you've got to remember that anything that shows through this, anything that's open, you'll see that psychedelic background we're going to create, which, you know, you want this thing to stand out. You want it to look solid against that background, which is why silhouette stamps are brilliant for this. Right, I'm leaving that bit there because we're going to go in with a little bit of white gesso as well. A little bit there, and I'm going to do a highlight on this post. We'll put a little bit darker under there, and yeah, we'll just blank in the crowel, anything that you can, because if you don't, it's like green screen, you know, if you've got anything green and you've got that background, it just shows through, doesn't it? Let's make his top grey, so I'm going to take a little bit of the black there, then we've got the white. Oh, you know what, other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give this a little bit of a, this is not anything like I had planned, but I've been behaving for the last couple of weeks, so this week is a little bit kind of ad-lib.
Are you going off piece, Pet?
I am going off piece, Pet, yeah. So I don't want it to look too, but I want it to look as if like that might be a stamp there. So the signpost in the ground, we've got that there, and now I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to use this white gesso here. Now this is a different brand. I couldn't find my Cadence white gesso. So Sue, I need help. I need obviously try and get another as a spare just in case. But I have to say this one is really also very good. This Pretty Gets Grissy is a good one. It's really thick, opaque as well. But I did have to stir it. It kind of it separated a little bit. So I'm going to take this. And I'm going to just brush across this signpost. So we've got a little highlight on there. Because we can. And then that'll blank out that background. But the thing is here, we're going bold and we're going opaque. That's what we're looking for. So this will not happen with an inferior quality gesso. Because gesso's real job, it doesn't have to be opaque to be a good gesso. You can get clear gessos, but it's really a primer for a surface. But the benefit of the Cadence one is that it is really opaque. So you get a fabulous 2-in-1 really. It's just like a really opaque white paint at the same time. So win-win in my book. So I'll pop a little highlight there. So that there will then, and we'll make this little, his little cloak a bit grey. I don't want it to look completely white. So we'll paint that in. Like that. We've still got people here. You haven't given up on us since me hover crow, have you?
Lots of people. Hi to Sam.
Hi Sam.
Sam's just joined us.
All right, so okay, you can. Let's give the crow a little bit of a highlight as well. Why not? Like feathers there, a bit on his head. Tail feather. Right, so now we've got quite a, I don't like that head shadow, it's a bit not great. That's all right, it's a bit better, that'll work. So what we need to fix is his hover situation doing it. Oh, you know what? Let's just do it with the black gesso. I was going to actually stamp and emboss, but I think that black is so opaque that we'll get away with it. So shall we do a little bit of paintery? Now, you know that brush you had earlier, Maria, that thin brush that you said, I haven't got a brush thin enough to paint my sign, which Maria was painting a garden sign. Just to let you know, we do craft whenever we can. She was painting a garden sign with starlights because the ducks we painted over 2 years ago are still looking great in the garden. Oh, it's not there, is it?
I think it's there.
Where?
Is that it there?
No, this is the other one. Oh, it's really going well, isn't it? Right. Okay, if this is rubbish, we're going to blame Maria.
I think the gremlins
because she
have
nicked
been in
me
today.
brush, okay?
Yeah.
So really a thinner brush is what we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to paint some viney effect on this sign to try and cover up what you might have thought was a mistake, but of course it wasn't. It was just purely so I could show you how to fix something should it happen.
Happy accident.
Absolutely. I'm hysterical now. So we'll pop that there. So I want this to be a bit twisty, like that. See how thick this is? I'm not watering it down because if I water it down, 2 things are going to happen. It's going to be less opaque and it's going to not cling as well to the acetate. So this has got the perfect qualities for what I want it to do. So put a little bit there, there, and we'll put a little bit there, and we'll put a little bit there, and okay. So I love the fact that after I mentioned Nancy Kaminsky last week, you were all saying, yeah, I remember Nancy. I wonder if she's still doing stuff or if she's still doing her thing. Right, so we've got that. Now you can paint little leaves on there if you want to do a little leaf here and there.
Okay, Mandy, let me announce that for you. Mandy's got no access to Facebook tonight, so her live that was planned for 7 o'clock is now going to be 7 o'clock on Monday.
Oh, okay, Mandy. Cheers for that.
I think the internet's under a lot of pressure at the minute with everybody being in. So I see some people's live feed is dropping out on them during this broadcast. So
oh heck.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, at least you know that we are gonna leave it on Facebook, so you can follow it later. There you go. See, jobs are good and sorted. We're all right.
Good.
We can put a little bit of shading on there. Right. Yeah. Put his hair back a little bit. There's a bit there. All right, I'm quite happy with that. That'll do for the background, and we'll dry that. So there's always a way to fix it, guys. And what I would have done if I'd found the glycerin, another option, and a great option if you are stamping onto acetate or something, and you think, I've stamped it, embossed it, I put the embossing powder on, I've missed a bit, I don't want to throw away a bit of acetate, because there's a cost there. Get a very fine brush in your glycerin, and not much glycerin at all, and paint in the bit you've missed. So it might just be a line. It did happen earlier with one of the eyes, actually. I didn't catch all of the eye. So I painted in the side of the eye with the, I used the gesso, but you can do, I've done it many times with the bit of glycerin. Then put your embossing powder back on it and heat it. And you can't see it, it blends into the line. So emboss it first, if you've missed a bit. Then get your glycerin, fill in the bit with a very fine brush with hardly any glycerin, because especially on acetate, it's not absorbent. Pop your embossing powder on and heat it, and it'll merge into the preheated embossing powder that is already on there. Big help tip then. So the next thing, here's the fun bit. That's ready to go. It looks pretty atmospheric, don't you think?
Yeah, Louise is saying it could be a bird bath as well.
A bird bath, cool. Yeah, could be. All right, so I'm drying this, and it's not taking long at all. Hot air coming from somewhere. It's not me. Could be me camera woman. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to work on the reverse side of this. So we're going to turn that over, and this is where it's really important we have a piece of copy paper behind us. Next thing we need, well, you know the Johnson's Clear. I've looked on Amazon. They've got two new ones. They've got a glossy floor polish and another one that they're I can't remember what they're called, but it's the one I was using that replaced the clear. I'll put pictures up for you. They're available. If not, this one is also available. This one was bought from Lakeland, and it's huge bottle. So just think of that as all this very thin lacquer to do this technique with, and probably other things, to be honest. All right. Now, if you can't get that, I know loads of you bought this, the Ultimate Glaze Cadence. But of course, there's a cost difference. You know, when you look at bulk and size and you think, well, I don't want to just use that as it is. I'll use it when you see how much I use. You don't want to go through it dead quickly. But the good thing is you don't need to, because I found out that what you do is you use 50-50. So just pour something in a little, you can say, whoa, this is the highlight of my day. No added sugar jelly, way. Now, sadly, I'm looking forward to it tonight. And then put a bit of water in it. 50-50 product to water, because any thicker than that, you waste it. You don't need to. Give it a stir, all right? And look, that looks pretty close. Anybody who's used the clear floor polish, that looks very similar. If I poured that other stuff in the jar, you'd be going, oh, is that? Well, I can't tell the difference. See? All right. So there, now what you do is you take that's ready. Next thing, you want a 2-3 ply, preferably the man size, the big tissues, and you then separate the plies. Now the good news is I've already done this, so you don't have to see me trying to separate 4 plies out of this tissue. But when it says, I thought I got a dodgy one before, that doesn't look like that's 4, but there actually is. So you're going to get 4 cards out of one. This is much better than using, I've seen people use like craft tissue. It's too firm, it's too opaque. This is much better. This gives you that webbing effect that you hardly see, but just makes that lovely cracked ice kind of crystal background in the background. So look, that's what we need. That. The next thing, you do that. So have some already pre-scrunched up when you've separated the layers. I'm not going to make you sit through that one as well. I try not to tear it, because that you will see where it's torn. So we'll use this one. So that's the next thing. So have this at hand. You've got your stuff at hand. You've got this at hand. You want a large brush, and you want some kind of colouring medium. Now, a liquid medium is the best. I used to do it back in the day with, I've done it with H2Os. That was the first video I did, with little pots of watercolour that had mica in them. Fabulous product, really good product, lasted ages and ages. So watercolour, you can use watercolour pans. I've got my posh Schmenkes here. Diane, I know you know what these are. Yeah, got my posh ones there. You can use watercolours, but you have to make them liquid to start with, you know, make them runny. These work great. These are brilliant, the watercolour concentrates. I would prefer to use a pigment based than a dye based, purely because the dye based product, especially when it's diluted, you know it fades in light. So we're only going to use it lighter. Whereas a pigment like watercolour, or a liquid watercolour won't fade like the dye-based products. And these are great because they're already liquid. So also, you want something to throw in it. Bit of glitter. Yeah, anything you've got. Salt and pepper. Not really, just glitter. Bit of your gold powder, your metallic powder. Anything like that. You can even put bits of gold leaf in there, little bits of it, and chopped up bits. So we've got this. Now, this is where it's really important. You do need a puddle. So you're not brushing a little bit on, you are pouring. And this is where you're also going to find if your table's flat. Oh, I'll tell you one thing I did do, which I didn't do before, is I've started taping a little bit of the acetate down, which helps it if it's crinkled a little bit when you've been drying it. Now, what we want is you do not want that little baby there to run underneath the acetate, because if it does, it's going to stick it to the copy paper. So if that happens, get your brush, pour a bit on, get your brush and start to kind of encourage it to form a nice orderly rectangular kind of shape, but still a puddle. Now you can see the table is actually moving towards me here. So I'm going to pop a little bit more there.
Can you use alcohol inks?
I've never done it with alcohol inks. I don't know. I would try. The thing is with alcohol inks is that alcohol, so that's the solvent in them. This is water-based. So technically you want a water-based product and a water-based product if you want it to swirl and merge in with it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we've got a good puddle in a uniform area. So now we can decide on what colour we're going to use. Should we put a bit of fiery sky at the top here? Let's pop a bit of... Now you don't want to use loads of this because you want it to be crystal-like, bit transparent, okay? Put one thing of that because we want more red in there, so a bit of magenta in it. And think about where your colours are going to mix, because when you, at the bottom, if I want more of a coolish, bluish kind of look, magenta is going to mix nicely with cyan, isn't it? You're going to get a purpley colour, but magenta with a green, you get a brown. So think about that. Right, I'm going to use a smaller brush and I'm going to start swirling this little stuff in here, and you'll find, you'll be able to see that's too dry up there. Can you see it's not swirling? Down here, loads of it. So try not, you see where you don't want it to go muddy, try to keep colours that mix well together. So magenta, blue, great, but I don't really want that blue to go further up the page, especially not with the orange, because look, we've got a brownie colour there, but that's all right, we'll be fine, we can manage. We'll pop a little bit more up there. Whoa, a lot more up there. And so can you see where my theory is that this lady who invented this was a very bad housewife? I reckon she started crafting, decided guilt got the better of her, I better make an effort and tidy up this place, it's a right blinking mess. Started cleaning the floor, dropped some more paint in it, tried to mop it up with a bit of tissue, forgot about it. Went back, went, oh, look at that. It's actually quite cool. Right, so this tissue, get it on there. Much better if your table's flat. Get this large brush. Don't, you see where I didn't over mix it? You don't want to play around with it too much. And you want that tissue. You want, what you're thinking of here is where you can trim this down to size. Now, I've left myself not much room to trim across there in an orderly fashion. But what I'm doing is I'm using this. Make sure you don't go over the back of the, like from the blue to the orange, or you will kind of contaminate that. It'll go dirty looking. So if you've used the brush at the bottom, have a bit of kitchen paper as well. Clean the brush, but just flatten down that tissue into that, because that's really what's giving you that amazing look, is you're bonding the tissue with that acrylic lacquer to the acetate. And then you're going to look at it through the other side. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't put any glitter on there. We'll see if we can put a little bit on the back. Might just get away with it. If you want, this is where you would put the glitter on beforehand, but be careful as well with the glitter, because it can overpower it. And when you see the reflection, all you see is the glitter. So this would have been better done beforehand, but if this is still quite liquid like this is, it'll hold the glitter, so we're all right. Okay, now this is now where you've got to be patient, but I'm not that patient. So what I do is I usually dry it, blast it a bit with the heat gun, and really importantly, pick this up if you can see it's running underneath. So let me grab the heat gun from my camera woman. What are you thinking? Are you thinking this is just one crazy technique? It looks quite good. It looks kind of like mulberry paper. On this side. Now, what I'm wondering is if we could patch that up at the top. Can you see where I've got a bit of tissue, but it's kind of cut across there? If you tear a bit, you can tear a little bit of another bit of that one ply tissue and put it in the tear with a drop of colour, diluted colour, and kind of patch it up, and you don't see where the tear is. So I'm drying this. Carefully, don't go too close, because remember, you have actually embossed on this. So if you go really close with your heat gun, you'll stick it to the paper, because the embossing powder will melt and stick to that background. But I've done this in workshops before and managed to get them dry to do 2 or 3 cards. Everybody do 2 or 3. So it doesn't take too long to dry once it starts. Right, we'll see how dry this is and see if we can pick it up and have a look, because you're going to want it, because you're not going to be able to be that patient. I'm not.
So the crinkles in the tissue are really important.
Oh, really important. That's why you scrunched it up. And then you see, look at it that side.
Whoa.
How cool is that? Oh, look. We got a nice, but this is where, you see there? I'm going to have to cut that across at that point. Shall we try patching it up, seeing what we can do?
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going
to... Like real crafters.
Yeah, like real crafters. Yeah, I've done so many fixes in this one, just for you. I hope you appreciate that. Yeah, I never have to do it. Right, so we've got some tissue. We need a bit of the polish. So what I'm going to do is just literally paint a bit of polish on there. And because that's predominantly orange, I'm going to take a little bit of the orange on my mat and pick it up and just pop it in there like that. Make sure I've got the special portion in there as well. A bit more orange, and then pop this on there.
Karen's saying, don't you risk burning the glitter when you're doing heating?
I haven't yet. No, absolutely not. It's no, because you're not using it that fiercely. A hairdryer is actually better, as long as you don't let the air get underneath the tissue paper and blow it away from the card. But if you put enough of this stuff on, enough of the portion on, that shouldn't happen. You should be fine. So yeah, just don't go. It's the same thing. You'd actually melt your embossing powder before you did that, to be honest. And you don't want to do that, because like I said, it'll stick to the thing. So I think we've managed to do quite a good match there. I think if we dry that, you're not going to see that. We'll see when we turn it over anyway. Might be wishful thinking, but I'm just going to continue drying this. Now it's really important that you let this dry thoroughly before you try to trim it. It looks, you really don't get it until you trim it. When you trim it, it's like, whoa, okay. But can you see how I like a technique that you come back to? You know, you do it and you love it and you think that's fantastic. But then you come back to it a few years later with a few more things, you know, techniques up your sleeve, ideas. You've got a bit more experience, you've got a bit more, you want to experiment, you want to mix it up. It's like a recipe, you keep tweaking and it gets better. So I think this now has morphed into something so much better than the first Horton crystal you'll see online. I'm hoping you agree. I'm not worried about these little bits here that are flapping up, because what I can do is just glue them down with the portion in a minute, with just the lacquer.
Anne's asking, can you use aqua tint?
Yes, absolutely, Anne. Aqua tints are perfect. Pebeo do another great, I think they call it Colorex, which is another product very similar to aqua tint, and that's brilliant for this technique too. Anything liquid and anything that's a bit transparent is fabulous. Yeah, really, really good. I'm just going to try try and glue that bit down there.
So you're gluing that down with?
With just the clear mixture of the lacquer, you know, the one we diluted? So it'll act like a glue just to fix it so that when I dry it, it will bond to the background. And I'm hoping when we turn it over, it won't be very apparent where the join is. And if it does lift up a little bit again, we're not worried, because the thing is we're going to turn it over to use it anyway, and that's going to sit against a piece of cord. So you got any more questions, guys? Anything?
Yep, Tracy's saying, can you use any other options if you're unable to get what you're showing on the demo?
Well,
like...
Oh, crystal lacquer.
Like Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue and water, or Cosmic Shimmer clear varnish lacquer?
I don't know what the clear varnish lacquer is like, but if it's water based, I would say yes, but not glue, not just a PVA glue, because that doesn't dry to the same finish.
Right.
You want something that is a lacquer. You used to be able to get crystal lacquer back in the day. I don't know if they do it or if that's what they've renamed it as. That might be the case, but anything like that, yeah. But don't use it neat. It's too thick neat anyway, because it doesn't allow the paint to flow in the liquid, and it doesn't allow as many facets and things, and you're wasting your product. You know, you don't need to use it neat. It'll go much further, as you can see, 50-50. Don't need any more than that.
So obviously you're force drying it. Carol's asking, how long would it take to dry naturally?
Well, first time I did this, Carol, I had about 50 of them all over the dining room, the living room. I had them on tables, any surface, on a bit of copy paper drying, and I just left them to dry overnight. If you leave them to dry, a couple of hours in a warm room. But just so we can move on, and because I know I've done this in workshops too, to force dry it so we can move on to the next stages. That's what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the acetate here, and I'm just going to start trimming through, slicing through. This is where you want a rotary trimmer is not the answer here. You need a good guillotine type trimmer. I love this. Guillotine has been with me. I've had the same, it's actually a new one. I've replaced it, but with the same one. And I just love this guillotine. It's my guillotine of choice. So
when you say it's your guillotine?
Oh, yeah,
Sheena.
it's got, well, yeah, look, hello. Yeah, right, okay.
Right, just saying. Anyway, back to your card.
Mine's in me bag, just saying. She just wanted to copy me. Right, so we'll do that there.
I want to be like you.
Yeah, this is looking cool. We're liking this. Yes, we like it. Okay. Wow. See how the join, you can't even see it. Don't even know it's there. But check out that back. Nothing looks like that background.
Oh, looks fab.
Nothing looks like that cotton crystal block, if you ask me. So now what you do is you decide what colour you want to mount it against. Do you want to mount it against white? Black would not be the answer, because the paint we used is a watercolour. So obviously watercolours only work on a light background. So if you use and pop it against a white background, check it out and see what you're going to get. It's pretty cool. Yeah. If you want to, then you could try it against a mirror card background. Oh, have I got any mirror card? Bear with, please. I have an avalanche here. Try it against that. You see how it's warmed it up?
Oh yeah, that's
nice.
Really
warm. Now the other thing is, you don't need to have the mirror card outline. You could just do it side to side. And what would look really cool actually is if you 3D'd it. Because when you 3D it, can you see how there's more light shines behind it? You get more play on the reflection if you raise it.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah. So what? Silly woman. So what you can do is you can cut it to size, but then mat that instead of having the mirror card, because I think the mirror card kind of just takes away the edge from the centre. Don't know what you think. Yes, I know. That would be easy if you wanted to have a mirror card border as well. And then the best way to attach it actually is brads. So 4 brads in each corner, and then that still allows some light and movement on the acetate to get the light shining through. But I have used this double-sided tape on the other two, but just a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom. So that's it on mirror card, that's it on the white card. Just decide which like I say, it warms it up on the mirror, but you might find that the other colours pop out more like the blues without the goldy background. But that worked pretty well. That was a very fortuitous thing to happen, the hover crow, because I think the vine on the sign works better in my book. I'm hoping you do too. What we like for time?
We are...
Wow, look at that.
Quarter of an hour.
Well, we can mount it up and that's it. But that's what you do, guys. That's it. But as I was saying, shall I show you? Yeah, we'll not mount it. All you're going to do is cut it and stick it together. We don't need to say that. But shall I tell you the other couple of things that I've been playing with? Right, so, being the crafter I am, one was a definite want and love. And it was for my birthday. I got an early birthday present because it's my birthday tomorrow. And so my birthday gift arrived on Friday. So Maria, knowing me, said, we'd like to open it now, we'd like to open it. She said, yeah, just going to open it now, aren't you? Yes, please, thank you very much, thank you, missus. And it was a fabulous pyrography fire. I've got a whole Spotify playlist in my head now for all this, Firestarter. Yeah. The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Those of you will know what I mean. And pyrography machine. So I've been playing, and I'll show you my first play with that. The other thing was more of a necessity, because now that, I'm trying not to go out. I really am trying. Asthma, you don't want to do it, right? So as we're told, however, you've got to go out and shop, haven't you? Or, prescriptions, chemists, whatever. So you can't get masks, and I don't sew. However, I purchased a sewing machine, cheapest one I can find. And I managed to make some rather cool looking masks. So that was yesterday. So between pyrography, cold crystal, drawing, because that's what, my job, what I do, and sewing. Lots of stuff going on, but let me show you. I'll find the masks I made, and they're really good thingy. But look, that's my first attempt at pyrography. I'm liking it. I want to play that tonight. Might do it tomorrow as well. It being my birthday. What do you think? Do you like it? No, you don't do that. No. Oh, she doesn't need any encouragement. Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Oh, yeah. Can I share something else with you? We first year.
Second verse.
No, first year that I was here, and we went to see Maria's sister. We went out for dinner for her birthday. We sang Happy Birthday in the restaurant, Maria and I, very loud to her. Madeline, she loved it. But if anyone hasn't heard Mrs. Miller, have a look on Spotify. This is my gift to you. Go look for, if you've got Spotify, Mrs. Miller, and just play the Greatest Hits album. We sang it in the style of Mrs. Miller. Just saying. Those of you who have heard it will get it. Madeline hasn't been out since, has she? No. She definitely won't. She definitely won't go out for a meal with us again. when we can again, it's not happening. So that's what I've been playing with. So masks, pyrography. I've got another couple I'm working with, and it was really cool trying to get the shading and things in with it. That was the skill. And this was a stamp. So stamped onto wood. That's that same stamp that I just showed. This is it here. That's the stamp there, the very stamp. But I stamped it out, then very pale ink so you couldn't see it. And then went over with that. I thought it was rather fun. Masks help for that too. So I hope you enjoyed Court and Crystal. Lovelies. And you can see it's morphed into more than it was originally. Definitely. Oh, I should tell you, if you wanted to add a shadow, what I did was with the eyes, when it's dry, when it's at this stage, then make sure it's crispy dry. It goes crunchy dry. That's still slightly squidgy in the middle, so it's got to be crunchy dry. Then get your paint mixed in with this lacquer that you've diluted so that it clings to the background, and paint the reverse side where you want that shadow. So that's exactly what I did with the eyes. I turned it around, and because I could see it's quite pale, I just used actually my Schmenke grey and blue diluted with the medium to paint on the back of it, Don't overwork it because you don't want to unsettle what's already on there. But because it's acrylic base, when it's dry, it sets, and then you paint on top of it. And if you don't overdo it, nothing should move. That's already on there and has been fixed. All right, and that's how I did the shading on the reverse side. So there you go, Court and Crystal. Have fun. There are loads of things. I'll post those other things on the pictures I found when I looked earlier today on Amazon of the other acrylic varnishes that are available that will work. And then get what you have. You might already have it. How wonderful that you find a cleaning product that is going to bring you some pleasure instead of the vile, torturous times of housework. All right, see you next week.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.